Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your favorite space bar at the end of Twitch. This is the Captain's Table. So this is where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. Sometimes we have a specific topic, sometimes it's a news topic, sometimes it's a theory crafting. But I bring people, try to get as many diverse thoughts and ideas in here as possible. And with that being said, let's get started with introductions. I'm going to start off with the Sultan of Stanton himself, Mr. HCVertigo. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Well, I'm a Star Citizen content creator primarily. You can find me over here on Twitch at HCVertigo, at YouTube HCVertigo, Instagram HCVertigo, Twitter HCVertigo, just HCVertigo all over the place. That's pretty much it.
You and I got to do Deep Rock Galactic at some point. I know we're still
Yeah, Paul.
out.
I was wondering why you haven't replied to us, but then I've seen some tweets.
Yeah,
on the Twitters about some stuff going on in your life.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd just kind of give you some space to kind of.
Yes. I'll let everyone know right now who's watching this is my cat of 10 years passed away. She had to get euthanized recently. Mm-hmm. So it's been kind of rough. So I'm keeping it together, but just that's the heads up as to why it's been quiet for the last week or so. So, all right. And then we've got a new face, a fantastic content creator that more people should be following anyways. Mr. Red J, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Thank you, Paul. My channel is youtube.com/RedJ. That's where you can follow me. My focuses are on, of course, Star Citizen heavily. I do cover ship analysis, game changes, sometimes the PTU patch cycles when they get interesting. And in general, I do cover other PC games as well, particularly in VR, and now I'm starting to evolve into spatial computing. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. Nice. I'm glad to be here.
I found Red J because of his reading through the lore. He does a lot of lore content as well as kind of some of those things. So if you're thinking, Paul, you're the only one who does lore. No, I'm not. Please watch Red J. Watch, Zin stuff too. So check them out. So I'm guessing this last couple of weeks have been exciting for you there, Red J, with the announcement of, what is it? The new metamaterial? What is it called? The one that's the room conducting superconductor or room temperature superconductor?
Room temperature superconductor. I vaguely remember hearing something about that.
I think it's a Korean team that's trying to push it together. It's really cool. It's very exciting to see the international community come together on stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really good. I heard that it was first discovered in William and Mary, and then it's kind of exploded. It's now every single lab out there is working on it. So it's pretty exciting stuff for in the world of computing and stuff. So
love to see if it works. If it works, it works.
Yeah. LK99. Thank you, chat. All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about the best in show, aka the ship showdown, what it is. We'll be talking about if it's good or not. We'll be talking about, theories, how to change it, so on and so forth. So
reaffirming the Carrick supremacy showdown.
So let's start off with what is this? So for a lot of people, since we've got a lot of new people in the community who may not know what Ship Showdown is, Ship Showdown is something that started back in 2019 as kind of a popularity contest for ships. The first round is always nominations. So whatever ship, and it's a specific ship. So if you're wanting the Cutlass to win, you're going to be rooting for the Cutlass Black or the Cutlass Red or the Cutlass Blue. They're all separate ships, considered separate ships. So it has to be a very specific variant in ship that you're getting at. You put out art or videos or memes or whatever onto their hub, the community hub, to try to promote what you want. And then the CIG's development team or community team will go through all of the submissions for each of the ships, figure out what are the top ships. Once they have those top ships, which are I think 12. I'm going to take a look at the
top 16.
Top 16.
There's 16 to start.
Yes.
So there's 16. They put them into brackets, and then they go each day in September in September. They do an entire week where each day is a different ship, and you choose.
Each day is different matchup, different lineup of ships. They go against each other. Everybody votes. Usually, stereotypically, whichever ship pulls the lead within the first hour usually wins. I don't think I've ever seen a ship make a comeback. There's ships that have tried, but
yeah,
I'm trying to. Somebody can point me out if I'm wrong to a specific ship, but I've never seen a ship make a comeback.
I think it was the MPUV when it won. It originally was losing to the it wasn't even the Carrack, was it?
I think it was the Carrack. Yeah,
it was the Carrack, and then it pulled up ahead.
Yeah, but that was like to me the winners are usually the final four that actually get the skins. Those are the
Yes.
Like
Sure.
I don't care about the last ship who wins.
Yeah.
Mostly because it was the MPUV that like won over the Carrack, so I just don't care anymore, Paul.
Yes, victory. Meme victory. So this has been going on for several years now, and the idea is that each bracket, you vote for each bracket each day, and then whoever wins in the first bracket goes into to face the winners of the first bracket again. So like a lot of it is determined by what ships are going against what ships, and then what kind of who they're going to go up against next, and that then will determine the top ships. The top 4 ships, I believe, maybe it's the top 3. I think it's the top 4 get skins. So they get free skins based off of that year's IAE, Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, whatever the color scheme for that IAE is. They kind of make those into skins and then they give them for free, but only if you've purchased those ships with real money. So if you have a Cutlass in game, you earn that Cutlass. You do not get a free skin. Only if you bought a Cutlass, if it's the best in show. So, and then the top leaders, whoever got the very top, gets special swag like a backpack or a themed outfit or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's generally how it works year to year. It's been going on for, 4 years now, 5 years now. This will be the 5th year. So. First off, I'm going to start this with Red, since you were the last person to introduce yourself. Do you think this is a good competition?
I think it is. I will say, though, that the first half of it, where it's all put it on Twitter, put it on Spectrum and the hub and everything, it's a little frustrating because a lot of newer players get excited about seeing this come up, and then they say, where's my bracket? Where's my ship vote? I want to vote. And they have to basically wait half the event to start voting into the bracket. So it would be nice if they did like a pre-launch, so to speak, and made it a little clearer on that, but it is still a fun event, and it's one of my favorite of the year.
Vertigo, your thoughts? Is this a good event?
Yeah, I mean, it drives engagement, allows people like Kashkaha to like have an outlet for his content, specifically a lightning rod for his content, people who do the virtual photography. It allows that segment of the fan base who like engaging with this sort of thing, like posting like edited photos or like hand-drawn photos of Star Citizen stuff, to be able to shine a little bit. And for CIG, of course, it allows them to get engagement, to keep the hype train going a little bit. The Argo MPUV was a perfect exemplary example of the hype train that this sort of event can generate. Or you have like backers fighting against each other, like, no, the Carrack must win, no, the Argo must win, memes and versus an actual starship. Yeah. So,
for those of you who don't know, in 2021, the people blame me for it, but I constantly say it wasn't just me. It wasn't
just Paul.
It was a lot of people. I just was one of the few people who like pushed it into like the consciousness of people. But it wasn't even. I didn't even start it. It actually was started with. Red Lear.
I was about to say Red Lear was pushing it pretty hard.
He pushed it in 2020 to get it on the ballot, and they said he didn't win, didn't quite win. So I heard about that, thought it would be funny because I like the MPUV in general, and I thought it would be funny, but also for a lot of different reasons, which I'll bring up later. I kind of said, hey, that's the ship I'm going to really promote. And I started talking to people on the captain's table saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And said like, yeah, this is funny. And then it kind of caught on with a bunch of the rest of the community. And it became this huge event for the Ship Showdown. And I would say that is the thing that put the Ship Showdown on the map. Before that, it was just kind of like a nice thing, but I had forgotten that we had even had one in 2019. So it was like, it became more popular after that as a result.
I remember one time, like the Origin Jump Works came up against the Dragonfly, and I voted it for the Dragonfly just out of spite.
Yeah,
just to spite the people who owned, and I own an 890 Jump. It's just like, nope, I voted for the Dragonfly. Click. Because I know this is going to piss off the people who like the 890 jump too much.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Jake Acapella, like about 6 months ago, he's on Yacht Club, and he said that ships that don't have paints yet tend not to be allowed. They're like become ineligible if they get far enough, because the argument is we're not just going to set it up for paints on a ship that's not ready for paints. I don't know how.
Which is stupid. I hate that excuse. The reasons why the Gray Cat PTV wasn't on last year is because they didn't want to. It's a Gray Cat It's a little electric golf cart. Just redo it.
To be fair, it was also the same people, myself included, who were pushing the PTV as it. So like it was the same people who are like memed, like, yes, let's get the golf cart to win a space game. That was, there's a lot of other things. It was the first vehicle in Star Citizen, but the fact that it was like. I'm gonna go on a limb and say I feel like that was kind of an excuse, like a very convenient excuse for them to disqualify.
A very weak cop out, in my opinion, to like not allow the PTV because we're a multi-million-dollar international corporation with 1,000 employees. We can't find the time to redo a electric golf cart for new skins. Oh, it's just. Oh my God! We had to buy Turbulent this year. Where the hell are we going to get the money to hire an artist to redo the? Oh my God! It's just
we're probably going to get into it in the question and answer session.
Smallest violin in the world, CIG. Like I just.
I like how chat puts this. This is like Star Citizen's version of Eurovision. I believe that 100%. This is Star Citizen's version of Eurovision. I would
you pay attention to it or you don't. Like it's.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'll probably submit the same picture I submit every year of the Super Hornet that got busted up once when I got ganked over Yella. Yeah. And it's missing all its pieces and it gets shot through and it looks really cool. And it's like, this is what a Super Hornet should look after a firefight,
Yeah.
But honestly, like I kind of pay attention to it because I'm a content creator. It's something to talk about.
Yeah.
So some parts of the community like it, some parts of the community ignore it, some parts of the community don't like it, but it does what it's supposed to do. CIG sets it up, it does drive engagement, so I think it is a good event.
And I will say, in my opinion, I think it is a good idea, great idea for a ship that's for a company that deals with ships as its main revenue source, as also it's a main way that people engage in the game as ships. So a ship popularity contest, no brainer, especially if you with the art talent that's behind CIG. They're really good.
Well, the problem is sometimes a ship popularity contest is always going to be the same ships that are popular.
We'll bring that up here in a moment.
Yeah.
But, the next leads us to the next question is I'll start with you on this, Vertigo. We all agree that it's a good idea. How if at all should this change going forward?
The one thing that I've consistently heard, and I've said this before, is whatever ship won last year, or maybe the finalists, whatever the top two ships were, or the winner or the top two finalists, have to be disqualified from running. Because we are consistently seeing certain ships that are darlings of the Star Citizen community. The MSR, the Carrack, the very big Carrack, the MSR, the Carrack. The Spirit is also very popular, but the Spirit's not. I think the Spirit may make it for the ship showdown, the A1, I think.
It's ineligible because it has to be available for right now. So if the ship is not in game right now, as of this recording, which is on August 12th, because it started on August 9th, it has to be in game as of August 9th of this year.
Yeah,
so,
because the 320 should release at the end of this month, if I'm thinking correctly, because it's the end of the summer quarter.
Possibly.
So, and the Spirit A1 is due for 320. So there's certain ships are just the darlings of Star Citizen, and one of the reasons why the Argo was getting memed up, I think, was everybody was just tired of like the Carrack winning, the MSR winning. What other ships have been, like the Cutlass Black has won, I think, a couple times, twice already. Carrack's won twice. So obviously certain ships are. I think the Corsair is probably going to be on there this year as well, because the Corsair's got a kind of a dedicated fan base behind it. Drake ships.
We'll get to that question. Just you jumping the gun.
But anyway, sorry.
How would you change it?
Yeah, just to top the finalists, the two finalists at the very top, just have to get disqualified. They can't run again. That would be that way we just kind of have other ships that could potentially win. Community throw their stuff behind, because right now it literally is a popularity contest, and people are now voting for the ships that they own, that they want skins for.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And a lot of people own the Cutlass Black. A lot of people own the Aurora. A lot of people, I think, own the Carrack as well. A lot of fans for the Carrack, at least. So I think a lot of people own it.
All right, Red, your thoughts. What would you change about this contest going forward?
I think that I would expand that the top 4, the semi-finalists, would be disqualified the year after. To me, if you get the paint, that's it. Like if you get a jacket or something else as well, that's nice. But all them people are winners to me. Yeah, if you're the finalist of your ship, that's great. And you kind of hit a little bit on when people have multiple ships, they start thinking of collecting these paints. They start thinking of this and that. Like they're trying to pool as many free things as possible, and that's fine. That's all part of strategy. But yeah, the top 4 finalists, semi-finalists, should not be eligible. And also, I would prefer it if it was soft launched on the part where you start building all the excitement and everything, and then it's crystal clear to newcomers that the bracket starts on this specific date. So there's like a soft launch ship showdown, and then there's you hit the ship showdown bracket. Here it is, and it's like the big exciting pages that day instead of the week later earlier.
Yeah. Okay. I will add in that I think what needs to change in terms of fundamentals, I think because this can tend to be towards the more expensive ships. Every so often we get a very popular ship. We got the Pisces last year. We've got the Argo the year before that, and we got those are probably the cheapest ones. And then like the Cutlass had one a couple years before, but very rarely do you see kind of like a starter ship or like a smaller ship, a sub $100 ship win.
And a lot of that could be fixed by CIG just massaging the brackets a little bit. So certain ships don't go up against certain other ships. That's
what I was going to say. I was going to say that they should change the brackets from being about the kind of the way that they do, because the way they do it can cause many problems. And CIG, I think that that once they have the list, I think that they set up the brackets to try to massage the direction of where they want to go to see who wants to win. They'll put people up against certain ships against other ships so they can try to intentionally make them lose. Like, any ship that they don't want to win, they'll put up against the Carrack. Any ship that they don't want to win will put up against like the very popular ships, so they can be like, oh, look, your ship lost, I'm sorry. They tried to do that with the Argo and it didn't work. The MPUV, it didn't work, because that was the one year that the Carrack did not make it to the final 4, I think, because it got beat by the Argo in like the second round. But I think if they were to do this a little bit better, it would be to change the brackets into a small, medium, large, and like capital or extra large brackets. So that way you'd have a little bit more fair, and you'd always have a chance that you'd get a small ship, a medium ship, a large ship, and an extra large ship in that final. And that way those people who don't spend their life savings on Star Citizen will still get a chance to be like, hey, I got a skin.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I liked when CIG did the holiday, the Christmas giveaway, where they gave everyone skins. They gave the Mustang and the Aurora the same skins, as well as the Caterpillar, the same 2 skins. And I thought that was pretty generous for them.
Yeah, and I think that would be a great way of kind of showing the community, getting more people involved in the community into that idea. So that way you have, the top
starter ship versus starter ship. So you pick one starter ship, and that starter ship advances. Then it loads up against that starter ship. One of the starter ships has to advance the next round, and then in that next round, it gets lined up against maybe a tier 2 starter ship, like a 300 series,
exactly,
Reliant Tana, and then those advance. And then you have one of those 2 ships, the Reliant or the 300i that wins against the Aurora, moves on, and then one of those ships is guaranteed to get a skin.
Yeah, and then you pick the top 4 in each category against each other. So then they, whoever wins the top wins the top. But like at that point, everyone gets that skin. So even if the Aurora doesn't, makes it to the very top of the bracket, it's still going to get a little skin, even if it doesn't win it all the way. So, just in general, that would be my critique of it, because it seems like a lot more heavy loaded towards like the more expensive ships that they can sell.
The
more.
whales ships.
Yeah. All right. Next question, and I'll ask you this, Red J, is this is just a personal thing. What do you want to win this year?
The 890 jump.
We just talked about the whale ships. It's like,
yeah.
To be fair, I don't know if the 890 jump has many skins. Does it?
0. It's begging for paint, and I doubt they'll allow it to get to the semis if it is. But I would love to see it. It got close one year. I wrote an impassioned speech in general chat asking the plebeians of the world to please vote for the little old 890 jump, and they laughed at me. So, so it'd be nice, but because there's a lot of ships that are just swimming in paints, and the Gladiator, the 890 jump, I'd like to see them get to the semis.
Vertigo, what would you like to see?
I would definitely like to see an 890 jump paint the executive paint, but that's like I like to see like the Arrow or like Super Hornet get a paint this year, but the dogfighters tend not to do very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Tends to be more industrial exploration style ships.
Stuff that's more valuable, either just because meta wise or something that's more like practical. I think a lot of times gets there. Like the Carrack is the reason why, is because it's so practical, and then the Cutlass won 2 years because of that. And I think people are saying the Reclaimer, but the Reclaimer actually won the first year.
Yep,
it won. So
1 year.
The Caterpillars won. So it's really more of those sorts of like more well-rounded or very specific to kind of a big player base to it. So I personally would like to see the Gladiator or the Terrapin win, because both of those ships need a lot of love, and I really like, people used to really like the Terrapin. I don't know why they don't like them anymore, but I really like the Gladiator. Like, its lore is cool. It's got probably some of the most extensive lore out of all of the ships, which is really weird for a ship that's been mostly abandoned by CIG in terms of updates and such. So
it's anytime I see a Gladiator, when I'm streaming, I point it out, and I go, "See that? That's a unicorn, everybody."
you don't see them very often.
Nope.
I think I've heard enough people say that. Like, I did a video on the Gladiator, and I think I'm personally responsible for like selling at least 100 of those ships. As a result, so many people were like, "I didn't know the Gladiator had such cool lore. I'm going to buy it now." I'm like, "No, it's mostly just it's cool, guys. It's just cool."
It's also very
like
realistic.
that Marge Simpson's quote from The Simpsons, where she's like, "I just think they're neat."
Yeah. Red J,
why do you like potatoes so much, Mom? I just think they're neat. Why do you like the Gladiator so much, Paul? I think they're neat.
The lore with the Gladiator is amazing because it's so realistic. A lot of the lore, like I've done the 300i, I've done even armored suits and everything. I've done every big thing. I think I just did the Cyclone recently. And one of the things you always read is like, it worked out great, and then it got better, and then someone bought them out. But like the Gladiator's like, a guy scammed the
entire Navy. Yeah.
And then the Navy stuck with this delivery vehicle for a fake thing, and they went, let's make the best of it. I'm like, that is so realistic.
This thing's terrible, but we've already dumped billions of credits into this. We're going to make it work. And it still didn't work until they finally figured out, okay, now we need to spend more billions of credits to make it work. And it's like, it finally works. Yay. And I just really like what are they called? Bravo Flight. It's a 343 or something like that. I can't remember. I can't remember the actual squadron number, but they're the Black Crows.
999, the flyer plant? No.
It's the Black Crows is their moniker, but it was Bravo Flight of Black Crows, which just uses Gladiators. And their lore is, they're based off of the Black Sheep Squadron from World War II, the Marine Corsair pilots.
Yeah.
Kind of had a little bit of a rebel kind of edge to them. And their lore is really cool because they're like the ones who always have had to fight the Vanduul, and like they always win, but the UE loses. So like they're the ones who saved the founders of Virgil.
Hi.
Virgil Ltd. So
yeah.
They're like the ones who escorted the last transports in to help them like land and get the last survivors out of Virgil, who eventually founded the Virgil Armor Company. And 214, thank you. And like they lost so many of their own fighter pilots as a result, and like they've constantly like there's a propaganda video in lore called 12 Went In, which is about them attacking a Vanduul capital ship. Like they have all of this like super detailed, like they've constantly fought battles and won their battles, but the UE was just like, we're pulling out, we can't win this, and just like, Nyah! Like they're the most frustrated group, and so they're entirely like just not defeated. They're just very bloodthirsty. They're just like, okay, we just have to kill more things in order to win more battles.
Our KD ratio is getting really bad, everybody. We need to kill more things. You need to step it up, everybody.
Yeah, they called themselves the bloodthirsty birds. So like they're known as the bloodthirsty birds because of how like they just hate the Vanduul, and they're constant. They were founded during the fall of like one of the first major systems that fell. So it's like they're like the opposite of Squadron 42, where like they're really good, but no one knows them. So anyways, that's a long lore dump of being like, that's the reason why I want the Constellation or the Gladiator to win, because it's pretty cool. I think those. So, all right. So now we've said what we want to win. I'm going to start with you on Vertigo. What do you think will win? What are the top 4 in your idea?
This year, I'm thinking Corsair, Mercury Star Runner, Carrack, of course, because Carrack.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. Probably maybe the 600i again. I'm not quite sure about the 600. Maybe Vulture. Vulture probably, because it's being a little different. Got a nice little fan base behind it. But I think the Corsair is probably a darling because it got flight ready recently. I think the Carracks will. I think the Carrack Karens will come out and try to support their lady.
Your mom. They're going to support
your mom. Support your mom. Honestly, like I think we have enough Carrack skins right now. We're good. Like,
okay.
It doesn't need to win again, in my opinion, even though I own one. But I think there's my 4. There's my 4 picks.
Reggie, what do you think?
I think the C8R is going to be a dark horse this year. I think it'll make to the 16 at the very least, and it might give a nice good fight up to the semis. So I'll go with that as my underdog. I've heard a lot of rumblings for the Terrapin again, both on Discords and also on the subreddit. So I think that's got a pretty good chance of getting up there. Maybe not MSR traction. I guess we'll see. You both mentioned earlier, it kind of depends on who goes head to head with who. Yeah. So it's kind of hard without a bracket to predict, but I would say that it's got a good chance. And I think the Carrack will again make it to the semis, regardless of how we feel about it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's not what we want to win. So what probably will.
Yeah.
And maybe the 600i. You got me thinking, Vertigo, because there's a lot of people that have been quietly moving towards the 600i, or they've got CCUs sitting on cool, waiting for it to come out. The 600i reworks are definitely in the wins. Probably a 600i Explorer, I would say, out of the two. It maybe might hit semi.
I still think the Corsair has enough fan base. I see enough Corsairs out there that I think it's definitely a dark horse that no one's talking about that will probably get, if it gets to the 16, it'll almost certainly place in the top 4. I like your idea of the C8R just because it's the C8R. People love,
Oh, that was so bullshit last year when CIG was like, no, the C8R can't have a skin, even though the C8 and the C8X are variants.
Yeah.
But the skin works on both ships, and it's just like, no, the C8R won't have the skin. Oh my god!
That's why I said at the very beginning, like CIG is very specific on who gets what. Like if you had the special snowflake Carrack, I don't think you got that skin. I think it was only, or no, I think they bent the rules and said they did. But like if you had like
the expedition Carrack.
Yeah, the expedition Carrack. I think they eventually said, yeah, they'll do it, but they can be very specific. Because I believe when the Hercules won, it was only the M2. The C2 and the A2 didn't get the same skin. So if you add the C2 or the A2, and Chad also can confirm this, you can't just have had purchased it. It has to be active in your hangar in order for you to get it.
It can't be in your buybacks. It can't be. You can't have purchased with credits. You actually have to have it in your web hangar. I think by the end of the ship showdown,
yes,
they give you a little bit of a grace period to purchase one back if you have it in your buybacks.
Mm-hmm. I had a giveaway Scorpius last year, so I have a Scorpius skin that I can't get rid of. It's just sitting in my hangar, and I don't want a Scorpius. I'm like, okay. So just keep that in mind. Personally, I think it's the C8R is probably going to be up there. I think the Corsair is another one, and then the Carrack. And I want to say the MSR, because I think the MSR is one of those fan bases where like they're ride or die. They'll show up for it. But yeah, I'd be very surprised if the Corsair doesn't make it this year. I'm pretty sure it will. And I do think the C8R is probably the cheapest one we're going to get, because the Carrack fans will vote for it. Because if you have a Carrack and you have a C8R, then you can take that buy that C8R and you can take that skin and then move it to wherever you want to. So, all right. With that, I think we're done with our kind of discussion. I'll ask you a couple of more questions specifically because these have come up a little bit. Red J, what do you think about the cutter making it? Because there's been a lot of rumors that I've been people pushing for the cutter or the mule. Do you think either of those would make it?
Certainly possible. For what it's worth, like what I would like to be in there, if the other ones wouldn't make it, would be the raft, for example. I think that could use some love paint wise. But when we're talking about the mule and other utility vehicles, not ships, I could see it. There's a lot of people with the mule. There's a lot of folks with the mule. And that, once again, you both mentioned the popularity contest aspect is certainly live and well with this. The cutter in general is a very nice ship. And if the rumors out there about possible variants in the future are true, I could see it becoming more interesting to people for a variety of like new players, older players, people that are like just wanting a second ship that's a little more utility minded. So yeah, I mean, I think its population's only going to grow. So this year, the question is, can the cutter go well? Yeah, definitely. If it gets that backing, it needs that push from the subreddit, from the discords.
Vertigo, same question. Mule and cutter, do you think you're going to get a chance?
I mean, the cutter probably has a chance. The mule for memes, probably, because it is set up for a skin. If the community wants to push that angle, the cutter does have a little bit of a fan base, but I'm not quite sure how strong it is. But I think a lot of people did buy the cutter.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people bought it.
But starter ships don't do too well on the ship showdown, unfortunately.
Well, the Pisces won last year, or got for the 4th place.
That was like, I'm not quite sure what about that. It was probably more about memes than anything.
It was Carrick.
And Carrick.
Yeah.
The Karens were like, cool, I get 2 skins, because that's what I thought when I saw the Pisces. Like, hey, I get 2 skins for my ships.
Yeah. I think that was a huge deal. It was like anybody who was supporting the Carrick would support the Pisces, The chat is also saying Vulture, which I'll ask you that. Do you think Vulture has a shot there, Vertigo? Vulture?
The Vulture? Yeah, the Vulture. Yeah. Like, generally speaking, like, industrial exploration ships tend to do pretty good. Like, non-combat ships specifically. The Prospector hasn't won yet, but, there's always a chance. Generally speaking...
Currently, the Prospector is kind of useless in game. A lot of people hate it because the mining changes, so I think people will not vote for it.
The ship manufacturers that tend to do the worst is Origin and Misk. And of course, like, Kruger Intergalactic, Consolidated Outlands. But generally speaking, like Frisk. Freelancer and Frisk. I just combined 2 words.
Generally speaking, so I was like we got knives and axes in Star Citizen. Yes.
Every time a Freelancer comes up, it never makes it out of like the first votes. No. Same with most of the Origin ships. They never usually make it to the second round. Make it past the second round.
We need a Freelancer overhaul for it to go in. Once the Freelancer gets its gold standard pass, I think it's got a shot, but not until then. So, Red J, what about you? Do you think the Vulture's got a shot?
Vulture definitely has a shot. Once again, falls who is going to be in that bracket. And just if I can venture off slightly, the Origin topic you brought up, I would love to see a 325A get into the semis. I don't think it's going to happen. I love that ship. I've always loved that ship for 350R, 315P. Everything but the 300i I love. And I think the 315P next year would be very strong if ship tractor beams are in by then.
Oh yeah, I love I think the 315P is one of those secret ships that people write off that don't realize how good it is, because most people I've talked to, when I talk about how the 315P is this fantastic smuggling ship or just a fantastic trading ship for that size, they go, oh yeah, but it's got like 8 SCU. It's like, no, it has 12. People are like, wait, it has 12 SCU? It's like, yeah, it has 12 SCU. It has, I think, the same amount of SCU as the Nomad. The Nomad may have may have like 15 or 16 SCU, but it's up there with a lot of the starter cargo ships. It has more, more space than the Avenger does. It has twice the amount of cargo space the Avenger does, I think, because the Avenger only has 6. So it's like, I mean, even if it has 8, it's still, more. So yeah, I think the 300s deserve a little bit of love too, but it's hard to say. All right, with that, we're going to move on to the question and answer session. If you did enjoy this so far, make sure you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. And of course, join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to us, follow us, rate us, give us a little bump on the podcast format. Because I do have it on all of these different platforms for you to enjoy. And if you're joining us live, you can ask questions and generally participate. I do want to thank so far Vertigo and Red J for joining us, but we're going to take a few minute break and we'll come back. We'll be doing a question and answers. So like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. All right. Let's go ahead and use the restroom if you need to, and then move right into the question and answers.
Cool.
Be right back, chat. All right, I'm back. Let me double check real quick. Red, you here? Not yet. Okay. You're here though, right? Vertigo?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so wait for a few more minutes for Red to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up the questions. We've got a good 6 so far, which is nice. So I'm doing this a little differently than I've done in the past. In the past, I did the straight up recording separate from the full VOD, and now I'm just not putting up the recording because they just don't do very well. But having the VOD up is there for people who want to watch it and that kind of stuff. So, and it usually does pretty well. The VOD usually does pretty well because it ends up with more people wanting to watch the full thing anyways. So. Weapons are not free, no, because you don't have. We do not have the audio ready for that. Not in this one. How's it going, chat? Feel free to ask your questions. See a lot of people saying the links. The javelin.
The links released recently, so it could possibly. But honestly, like ground vehicles, other than meme it up, I've memes and haven't really done well in the ship showdown either.
No, the only one that happened was if the PTV was allowed to compete, it would have won.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think we've had a Tumbler Cyclone a couple times, or something.
But it's never made it past the second round, sadly. So, that's 24 SCU. Thank you, Pappy. I was wrong on that one.
I think what's his name?
There's
actually put it up here,
but I'm gonna keep screaming Saber. You're the only one. Hold on to that belief that Saber is good, my man. Glass sword. Just hold on.
Yeah, the only reason why this Hornet is good right now because it's bugged, which is nice. It's nice that the Hornet's actually getting out. I can actually dust off the Hornet and do something with it. It's just like not like this.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, Paul, if you didn't know, you can loot the loadout off the military Hornet to put on any of the Hornets.
Oh, nice. Didn't know that.
You get a loadout. The loadout becomes 4 size 3s and 2 size 2s.
Huh.
And it's guaranteed to drop off the one of the Arlington gang missions. But if you already completed the Arlington gang mission quest chain, you can't get it. So then you have to find another way to get an F7A to spawn.
No more cams. Yeah, we're waiting for Red to come back. Once Red comes back, we'll get back onto the cams. So
I'm pretty sure CIG, in order to fix this, they're going to hull lock the F7A loadout to the F7A, so you can't loot that stuff off it anymore. So
Probably.
get it while it's hot, everybody. If you want to experience the power of God, yeah.
There's a reason
Take the
why
Arlington
that thing
gang
is...
mission. I think it's Weepy Arlington has it as the F, or maybe be the first guy who gets it. But if you soft death the F7A on the Arlington gang missions, and you have a Hornet, you're flying a Hornet, you can get out of your Hornet, unlock the ports, get out of your Hornet, and then loot the loadout off that military Hornet. Take the ball turret off, and you can also take the chin turret off, and a stupid amount of firepower becomes yours.
Yeah, the Arlington gang mission you have to get through
Miles Eckhart on Hurston.
On Hurston, yeah. So you have to get Miles Eckhart's meeting mission. You have to go meet him, and then he'll give you the mission, and that's the first meeting, the first mission.
He just gives it to you on the meeting.
Does he just give it to you?
Yeah, there's no prerequisites. It's just you just talk to Miles Eckhart. It's usually one of the options he gives you.
Yeah, no, but I was like, you still have to meet him first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which means you got to do some you got to go around Hurston doing bounty
mercenary missions and bounty missions.
Yeah, but he'll contact you wherever in the verse. You don't have to specifically do stuff around Hurston.
Hey, Steve, we're waiting for Red J to come back. There you're back. Okay, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome back. We're now doing the question and answer session with Red J and HCVertigo. Make sure you're checking both of them out. YouTube.com/C/RedJ or YouTube.com/C/HCVertigo or Twitch.tv/HCVertigo to check out their content. Fantastic content creators all around. And we've been talking about the Best in Show for 2023, aka Ship Showdown 2023, aka Ship Showdown 2953, aka Best in Show 2953, aka Young Yeezy, aka.
Oh my god! So I'm looking through the charts here provided by Red J, and the only ground vehicle that's ever been on the Ship Showdown was the Dragonfly.
Was it?
And yeah, there's no wheeled or other ground vehicles besides the Dragonfly. And the Dragonfly almost made it to the Final Four, but it got knocked out by the Reclaimer.
That was the first year, right?
Yep, first year.
All right, so these questions are going to be been asked by the chat. If you want to join us live and ask your questions, make sure you join us on Saturdays at, I remember the time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub to ask your questions live. So the first question comes from Guns and Glue, who asks, why are easy ships like the Greycat PTV, UTV, and I suppose the X1 for those people not getting done, even though they have been soon to release, they have been soon to release vehicles? Well, the PTV is technically out. It's still out there. You can still get it. But the question is more about the rework. I'll ask you that question, Red J. Why do you think the PTV, the UTV, and the X1 aren't prioritized, or why aren't they getting out, even though they should, in theory, be pretty simple vehicles to do?
Well, I actually have a theory that this may be wrong. This is me speculating. That they keep these on ice, so they have a small, medium, and large target to sell at large sales and for special events. So we got the STV, for example, during a large event, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it at CitizenCon or IAE, the UTV rollout. And I am looking forward to that. It's a pretty neat vehicle, I should say.
Yeah.
And so I think some of these are like that. And then other ones, there's some tech debt they have to work through, like the X1 Force Series. I think that's actually got a very unique UI, a very unique way it kind of opens up, and it has to be all animated. So that might be a little bit more just literally they haven't had a team work on it yet, finish it up yet.
Okay. Vertigo, your thoughts?
I think that CIG doesn't prioritize these old ships or these older vehicles is that they've already sold them. So they're not making any money off them. So why work on them if the community is just willing to sit around and not really make an issue about it? Because you look at this Genesis Starliner, the Banu Merchantman, the Crucible.
You really think people haven't been making a big issue about the Banu Merchantman?
Not the people that matter.
Oh, okay. I mean, I hear it all the time, so I don't know the community.
You hear people complain about it, but CIG still makes a shit ton of money every year. So, I mean, the people who are complaining about it aren't people who are actually funding development.
Okay.
That's the problem with this. Like, I hate to say it, but this is the truth. CIG doesn't, they can afford not to listen to a lot of these complainers because they're still making shit tons of money hand over fist every year. despite all these complaints, despite all the negativity surrounding development.
This is why we call him the Sultan of Stanton, y'all.
It's the X1 doesn't have to be made because CIG sold all the X1s they want to sell, and they could just afford to shove it into the back of the line. Even though the 400i should have released with the X1, but the Hover Quad got released that year because the Hover Quad was a new thing that could be sold and make more money. And that's just how development's going to go for like starships. Eventually, CIG is probably going to have more starships in the backlog they can realistically complete.
I'll disagree on that in the sense that I think that CIG's been working through the backlog pretty quickly in comparison.
Until John Paul Jones goes to work for Ubisoft, and they have to put the Banu Merchantman on the shelf because no one else can work on it. Yeah.
Well, also like what is the Banu Merchantman good for right now?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Same with the whole D and the whole E. I mean, you could argue like the whole B could be good because it's kind of in between the whole C and the A, but like you already have the A and you already have the C, so you don't really need to develop new technologies for it. So it's kind of like, there's a lot of reasons why I understand why like a lot of the backlog isn't done, because it's just like it requires the game that doesn't exist yet, or content or stuff that doesn't exist yet. But
the rebuttal to that is like, why the whole C? Like, I like the idea of the whole C coming in. Probably, but I like the idea.
I know it's in
Squadron.
It's on its tag. It's in Squadron.
It's on the tag. Yes, it's Squadron 42. They need They need something for an escort quest.
Exactly.
Right? So they usually the first couple of missions of a Wing Commander game is like escort this freighter to a jump point.
Yeah, and that's the whole C.
And that's gonna be the whole C. And I like the idea of like a ship that's like been 7 years in the making, finally getting finished. Even though the whole C really isn't going to be able to do anything in the persistent universe, it's just like the people who purchased the darn thing can just load it up, fly it around, extend it, retract it, put some trash onto it, and then run it into an asteroid and watch it go all over the place. So, but like the Banu Merchantman, like it just like people would load it up and use it as a big cargo ship. That's basically what the use is for it. Kind of like the Carrack. What's the use of the Carrack? It's basically just a big cargo ship you could fly around with your friends and you just shoot the lasers, pew pew pew.
I will say that I think the reasons why we don't see like say the PTV, for instance, is because the PTV needs to get a complete rework from the ground up, and it's an electric golf cart. Like, how many PTVs are they going to sell when that gets a rework? I think I know enough people would buy a PTV because it'll be like $15, and they'll be like, I'll take a $15 little electric golf cart.
I think a lot of people bought them, but I don't think CIG is selling anymore. Basically, they're giving them away for like the PTV.
They are,
but for like referral rewards and whatnot, and just like Christmas rewards. It's just like
But I think once it gets the rework, I think it'll make some money. But I do think that it's also not interesting. And one of the things that CIG seems to have a problem with is artist retention. Like most of the people who work in a lot of the departments at CIG, like the code side or like the net code side of stuff, like the stuff on the internet, like anything dealing with like server meshing and that kind of stuff. The teams that have been working on like gameplay, the mission, like I'm forgetting his name. It was in my Luke CIG. Luke Presley has been in CIG. He's been working at CIG under missions since 2.0. He's been around for a long time. So there's a lot of people who have been working at CIG in the various teams for a very long time. People leave, and obviously, and some people even come back. But one of the teams that seems to have a lot of turnover is the ship art and ship development team. So I have the theory, this is a theory, that anything that can't be done by someone new and fresh so that they can get an idea for. So if it's simple like the PTV, it needs to be done by the person who's new to the company, so that they can have a chance to build their own, so they can express.
This is why you have a very, very good company procedure. I'm trying to remember if there was like or SOP, standard operating procedure, for when you're building stuff. That way, when you hire someone new, you hand them a binder and like, this is how you build our ships.
Yeah.
Here's where all the art assets are located. Like, here, you could watch this 15-minute. You have like a day or two training schedule, and by the end of those 2 days, they can actually go to work for you on this stuff. But I mean, like some of these guys and gals, they've been building ships for what, 5 years? Eventually, you just want to move on. Like Jeremiah Lee, like he was concept artist for CIG for I don't know how long, and eventually you just, or like John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
Eventually you just want to do something different. Like you've been doing the exact same thing for 5 years, and and for, going into turnover, like Star Citizen isn't coming out anytime soon that week. Maybe Squadron 42's, they have a 2-day Citizen Con coming up this year in November. Maybe they're announcing the release date for Squadron 42, or sorry, October. The anniversary sale is on November 20th.
Yeah.
Maybe they're announcing the release date for Squadron 42 again. This time
I think so. I think it's true. And the call's been on hold. That I've been waiting for that call. It's been on call waiting for fucking ever.
Fucking ever. So you can only do the same amount of stuff, and with especially with professionals, people who do graphic effects for movies, TV, and video games, special effects, editing. Your resume is basically your credits. Right. Mm-hmm. So when a product releases or project releases and your name is in the credits, that's part of your resume. That's part of your prestige. When you go to another company to apply for a job, you could throw that down on the table and say, here's the projects I worked with. Here's how successful they are. You want to hire me because I was behind this very successful project. This project was successful because of my efforts. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these guys, like Star Citizen, is just it's successful at making money. But how do you quantify on your resume the success that you brought to this project? So a lot of people is you've been here for 5 years, you've been making character concept art, or you've been making starships. They're beautiful starships that you can have in your portfolio, and you can spin around and here's all the cool stuff we did. But you're still not getting credits because Star Citizen hasn't released.
Mm-hmm. I will say that Paul Jones in particular, I always think back to his introduction to the Pioneer. And the caring, the love he had for the concept, and kind of talking through, he was a lot of the soul of the development process. Mm-hmm. He was one of those people. There's some stuff that's almost intangible that they get over time, and you really have some stars like that. So that really hurt when I saw him go. Yeah. But the ships will live on, thankfully, and I hope to see him back someday.
And I know Fizzlefuse is in here, who's a graphic designer, who says something he said that your portfolio really matters more, and that's true. But here's my theory is that I think that CIG is trying to figure out a way of keeping ship designers on for longer periods of time. And in order to do that, they need to have ships which can be produced so they can add to their portfolio. Mm-hmm. And so you have a new ship designer come on, the new guy who just finished the Fury, who's now technically working on the Carrack. He didn't just get the Carrack to say, hey, fix this windshield on the Carrack. He got a brand new ship. He probably hit the team that helped them make it are all probably newer artists with some veterans in there to help give, guide along the way. But they want to keep these people. They want to get them portfolio builders so that they have that going for them, so that when they go on to the next ship, they're doing more complicated ships.
I don't think CIG will ever solve that problem of
I don't think either.
Employee retention. They could probably have some high level employees that'll stick around, but I saw some rumors of CIG kind of outsourcing stuff to the Asian area as well. I think it's the Perseus or something. A rumor. I don't know. 100%.
I don't think that. So based off of what they said, it doesn't sound right. But I will say that I think what's happened is that unless it's somebody's design from this ground up, they don't, especially for simple design, they don't want to do it. But when they get to the bigger stuff, like say the Polaris and the Galaxy and those ships, they want to have teams working on it, but they don't want to have those big teams working on, one or two of those people working on a small ship. They want to have a big ship because they want to sell it and they want to make money. So it's this problem where any of the small ships, which should be relatively easier for them to make, they take them a couple of months rather than, 16 to 18 months. They don't want to waste their artists and designers on those when they could be working on the larger ships, but they can't give those smaller ships to the newer people because they need to have the CV resume builders for their own work. So they would rather them work on those because it teaches them how to do the use their tools and all those sorts of things. So as a result, all of the G12, the PTV, the UTV, the X1, all of those vehicles just get kind of pushed to the side, even though they should theoretically take a little bit less time. And all the bigger ships just either get done or don't get done because they just take too much time and their gameplay isn't relevant yet. So as a result, you just end up with this kind of nebulous zone where a couple things just literally fall through the cracks. It's one of the reasons why I scream about the X1 all the time, because I think maybe eventually I can embarrass CIG enough to start working on it. And technically it's in gray box. I don't know why it's just in gray box, but it's in gray box. So, anyway, that's my answer for that one. Next question. I'll start with you on this one, Vertigo. Akuma Tenchi Kuro asks, I big time hope for high tier exploration that will include fly into this Vanduul system, scan and update the Vanduul disposition of forces. How possible do y'all think this would be?
I think it'd be pretty possible, but those missions would be like guild raids.
Okay.
In like World of Warcraft, you're looking at like a team of players with like their own ships. We're talking like, and this is I'm looking forward to like
coordination.
I'm looking further in development for this because we have to have Vanduul systems and whatnot. So we'd have like NPC crew and AI blades. So every player would have like their own ship with like a constellation, Carrickman with scanning equipment with it. You'd have AI crew helping out with this little fleet of players. And you'd probably have those probability volumes where you'd be traveling through the Vanduul system and the game would just roll a dice for random encounters, get interdicted by the Vanduul. You have to fight the Vanduul or run away or something. Bring your own supplies because you can't, or you'd have to loot from the supplies from the Vanduul, oxygen, water, fuel, quantum fuel, that hydrogen fuel, quantum fuel, if you can, if they actually use the same technology as us. So I think that's possible. I was surprised when CIG came out with using salvaging for criminal missions. I didn't even see that coming. That was like, wow, okay, cool. Like you could actually scrub off like the ship's serial numbers using the vulture, and that helps you complete a mission, like to make the ship unrecognizable. Never
underestimate the ship mission team. The mission teams are like, they're absolutely insane. Elliot and Luke and those people are like, they're just like, let's see what we can do. Let's take this clump of clay and turn it into pasta somehow.
So I could definitely see like scouting, like multiple part missions where you have to go scout for some Vanduul stuff, and then after you complete that part of the mission, you have a mission chain that can either be like report back to like the base and then do another mission, deploy to another mission somewhere else, or you scout a base, you find something of high value, and then you order to go capture that thing. You have to infiltrate the base, get it, bring it back, and then come deliver it to like a UE, like forward base or some shit. So I think CIG would definitely do something like that. Yes, very good possibility.
Red J, second question. You're hoping for something like fly. They're hoping for something like fly into this Vanduul system, scan and update the Vanduul disposition of forces. How possible do you think that is?
I think it's definitely possible. And I think as we get closer and closer to Pyro, yes, I said that. I said the word. I evoked it.
Yay!
Now you just have to say everybody.
Now you just have to say the B word, and everyone will be very unhappy. I'll get it all in the comments. So
yeah, but I think like very, very straightforward. I think when we finally get Pyro, we may see something that's like you're on the edge of the system, the known system's gone, and you're monitoring for incoming threat. They're trying to sneak into Stanton through Pyro, scout this. I think in the near future that's plausible at least, but like an entire instance system, I'm not sure about. But anything's possible. I do agree with Vertigo. It would be multiple ships coordinating. There'd be a lot of interplay between them, and it would certainly reinforce people's view of like how much storage do you really have on this ship for all the resources you're going to need to rearm, refuel, keep everybody fed, hygiene, etc.
Yeah, I always like to point out to people that there is actually a Vanduul system, I believe, Virgil. It might be an unknown system, but there's a jump point from Pyro to a Vanduul system. So there's definitely some. That's why they showed off in the show. IAE show last year, where he was like, are those real genuine Vanduul parts? Because they would have had Pyro citizens will definitely have interactions with Vanduul raiding parties just because they'd be in the area.
And sometimes you might even see a rogue BMM Soli coming through from there, and you're scratching your head like, oh, that's how the parts got here.
Exactly. So there's definitely, and that's definitely something that CIG is going to be thinking about as they get the Vanduul stuff done for Squadron 42. They'll probably, because knowing Elliot and Luke, they're probably, secretly hacking or stealing the assets from the Squadron 42 teams, or I don't know, like trading, what is it, like honey buns to the various little prison bucks to get their get what they can for the missions that they want to do in Pyro. So I'm sure it'll be possible. So I agree with like definitely possible. I didn't think of it as being like a guild raid or like a very difficult raid, but I can imagine that for sure being something like, hey, you have to go to this region and this region's going to have like a driller, like a destroyer or a frigate that you're going to have to like scan down or scan the area of and get out before getting killed, this sort of stuff. So yeah, we'll see that. Next question is from Lady Space Patrol, who asks, and this is something that Vertigo brought up, and I'll talk about it, but Lady Space Patrol asks, do you think the outsourcing of PU to other devs will see more improvement, or is this a death knell? So for those of you who don't know, there's a rumor that's been floating around the Leaks community that came from the Leaks community that two specific rumors. If I remember correctly, the rumor is that there is a new studio in China that's opening up, an outsourced studio that they're going to outsource most of the development to the PU2, and that CIG is internally moving entirely away from the PU development towards Squadron 42 and Squadron 42 Part 2. So there's no longer going to be any internal development on the PU. The problem is that's a rumor. There is no source for it. There's no confirmation for it. And personally,
CIG's outsourced to places before: Ilphonic, Firesprite, Turbulent. Yeah. So it's not unusual for them to outsource.
No, but CIG has also bought Turbulent, and Turbulent has an entire studio dedicated to the PU development. They have a sandbox team, and so does the EU. I don't see them disappearing anytime soon. You don't hire people of that caliber, of that magnitude, and have them work for you for so long to have them just get moved off a team when they know what they're doing. I mean, I just talked about two members of the mission team, Elliot and Luke. I don't see them suddenly being yanked off of missions and PU and working on Squadron. They already have their own mission team in Squadron. They don't need Elliot and Luke to go there. They're still going to be working on the PU. So, yeah, I don't put a lot of stake in that rumor. Any kind of rumors, unless they have a source, is very difficult to pin down. And
why we call them rumors.
Yeah, and based off of a lot of the stuff I've talked with in CIG in the past, I've asked, because this isn't the first time someone's talked about a studio in China before. And I remember the last time it came up, I asked people I knew in CIG, and they said, I've never heard anything about that. So I generally trust that they would have told me, even confidentially, if it was or not, and I would have kept my mouth shut if that was the case. But based off of my experience, no, I wouldn't. I don't think it's going to happen. Vertigo, your thoughts? Do you think that outsourcing is a bad idea for CIG? Just in general, let's talk about it in general, because it's not the first time this happened.
I mean, it's not the first time CIG's outsourced stuff, and they've had good experiences with outsourcing with Turbulent, and they've had bad experiences with outsourcing Ilphonic, Firesprite. Ilphonic just dropped Ilphonic was outsourced to build Star Marine. Mm-hmm. And from my understanding, Star Marine that Ilphonic delivered wasn't built to the correct scale, so they couldn't use any of the assets that Ilphonic produced. So they had to part ways there and bring everything in-house. And then Firesprite was supposed to be building Theaters of War, but then Firesprite got bought out by Sony just shortly after CIG and Firesprite announced their partnership. Sony came and bought up Firesprite. But I think CIG managed to acquire a couple of the employees that worked at Firesprite. Yeah.
DJ we were working on Firesprite for the Arena Commander. Now he's the head of, or one of the heads of the Arena Commander team. So, yeah.
And so obviously, they've had a good relationship with Turbulent. Turbulent is no longer outsourcing to CIG. Just bought them out recently for a couple mil. So now they have a presence up in Canada. Maybe they'll have a reason to do CitizenCon up in Canada now.
Yay!
Because they have an office up there. Because CIG likes to do citizen cons next to their offices. right,
yeah,
CIG? I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, it also means, because I think there's a studio, a Turbulent studio in Lyon, France, which means we might have a citizen con in France, which would be interesting. So, two French speaking areas having citizen cons would be insane. That's I guess I'll say this. I'd rather CIG open up a studio in Seoul, or say like Taiwan or somewhere so that we can actually have a citizen con not in the Western Hemisphere or the West more out there, to give more reason for people to go out there. There we go. That's my my take. Red J, what are your thoughts? Do you think that outsourcing is a bad thing for CIG? Is that a bad sign for CIG?
In general, no. I mean, I've seen what Turbulence done. I really like a lot of the work that they've completed. I was very happy to hear that they got incorporated into the larger CIG family fully, especially because Vertigo, you hit it with Firesprite. There have been when you outsource, you do have that risk of other third parties getting involved, doing different things. I can remember even like companies being pushed around by larger companies. The CIG has a certain amount of status. It has a certain amount of it's a secured platform, whereas when you have this outsourcing, things can change year to year. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think as long as you have it in measured reasons and you have a certain amount of work going to them, and then you see how it goes. Turbulent, I think, should be the blueprint for future outsourcing if it does happen.
Yeah, I agree. But again, just to emphasize, most of that is based off of rumors, not leaks. There's no hard source for it. So, and it's not the first time I've heard this rumor before. And the other rumor came from a very well-known bad source on, I think, the Something Awful forums or 4chan. I forgot the guy's name, but the guy had an infamous post that was just like 98% nothing, just made up. Oh, look, The Agent, I think his name was, that came out at one point. So, what was Ted's question about the Fury, Red Jake? 'Cause I don't know if he put it in here.
I don't remember.
I think he was asking if it's going to make it how far this year. And
I mean, the Fury could be like to the Final Four. Like it's a new release ship. Everybody likes the TIE Fighter, the TIE Interceptor.
Yeah. Do you think it'll make it far, Red J?
I think it might make it to the 8. I don't think it's going to make it to the semis, but a lot of people did pick them up. But I will addendum that with, I think quite a few people who bought them will end up LTI toking them. I think that's kind of how they're philosophizing that.
Yeah. I don't know if many people are buying them for using them, you know. What do you think, Vertigo? Do you think we're going to see a lot of people supporting it?
We could potentially. Like it's hard to say what the community rallies behind, but I haven't seen a lot of uprising or groundswell over the Fury since it's not like the Mercury Star Runner or the Carrack. So it's gonna be one of those things we'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
But I'm not. I think it could make it into like the first 16, but making it to the Final Four, not feeling too good about it.
All right, so the next question comes from Akuma Tensei Shikuro, who asks, as a nearly white knight, I'm very disheartened by how CIG runs Ship Showdown. Do y'all think that CIG is trying to massage brackets / prevent certain ships from progressing in Ship Showdown that represents CIG breaking faith with the players? I don't think they're breaking faith with the players. I just think CIG is trying to nudge the players in a certain direction because I can almost guarantee you that right now CIG has, or probably by the time the top 16 come out, CIG will start asking its ship artists to come out with skin for some ships so that they can have those especially for the larger ships, so that they could have them pre-prepared and ready to go by the time IAE comes around, so they don't have to scramble to get those done, because they do have a short turnaround time from the September when it gets started and then like November when the ships actually come out. It's still 2 months of development time, which they probably don't want to waste on a ship that, you know, or they don't want to wait until that's done because that takes some more time. And so I personally believe it's more of a practical nudge is the reason why they want to do it. And maybe they want to sell a little bit more, but I don't think they fully do it, because they tried that with the Argo and putting it on the same bracket as the Carrack, and it beat the Carrack in the third round, or the second round. It beat the Carrack in the second round, which means the Carrack didn't even place in 2021. Sorry, 2020. Yeah, it was 2021. So like that blew up in their face, but it definitely was because the Argo cargo hype was high, and they were like, let's put it up against the Carrack because the Carrack will kill it, and it didn't. So
it didn't.
Yeah. It was close. It was a hugely popular thing, but once it beat the Carrack, it was almost a done deal that it was going to make it to the final top 4. What do you think, Red J? Do you think CIG massages the brackets?
I think they try to make them competitive. I don't think they rig it or anything like that, like anything that bad. But I do think there's a few on there that like they want to see go head to head. Try to just slightly nudge it.
Vertigo, what do you think?
I think CIG manipulates the brackets to have things that to try to keep things more interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question comes from Jondon 25, who asks, "No love for the Nomad, fellas." No one likes the Nomad. Go home. No one wants your space El Camino. I don't know. I think that the Nomad is just such a weird position. I think it has its fans. It has its fan base. But like, it's kind of like the freelancer. Like, I don't see people will ride or die for the freelancer, but I don't see it getting a huge amount of love and support right now, just because it's kind of not a gold standard ship or really well done ship. What do you think, Vertigo?
Like a gold standard ship?
Well, no, just why no love for the Nomad?
Well, thing's ugly as sin. I hate looking at it. It's just it doesn't look like a ship from Consolidated Outlands. I mean, obviously it's supposed to be like the Cybertruck from Tesla.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the Cobra from Elite Dangerous, but yeah,
it's kind of both. But I mean, it has it's not a combat ship. It's basically like a Cutlass Black -1. Kind of like a step down from the Cutlass Black.
Oh, Asp. I'm sorry, I said Cobra.
An Asp, yeah, Asp Explorer. Like, be kind to Paul. He doesn't play Elite Dangerous that much.
No, but I knew it was a snake. I knew it was named after a snake. All right.
He's a filthy Star Citizen pleb when it comes to Elite Dangerous lore. So he needs more time. What else?
You understood. You understood, chat.
But yeah, like I just can't imagine like the Nomad. Like I said, it's just a crappier version of the Cutlass Black, or kind of a crappier version of the Avenger Titan in some regards that way as well. Like it's basically just a space pickup truck. You can go down to the Home Depot and get a couple Banus hanging on the front to come work do your lawn for you.
God damn it, Vertigo.
Reggie, you laugh about that, but we literally would do that in the construction business, where we'd have the boss go down to the Home Depot and just hire people that were standing there hanging around.
I lived in California and I live in Texas. I know what you're referring to. Reggie, what do you think? Why no love for the Nomad?
This might give me some heck in chat, but when the Raft had a war bond a while back, I personally picked up a Nomad to Raft CCU war bond, and I gave it to a friend as a Christmas present when it finally rolled around to Christmas. That's how I've always felt like. I know this sounds snobby or something. Yeah, it's a stepping stone to the Raft. Yeah. Nomad's nice, but the Raft gets things done.
The Raft is nicer.
Yeah. It's just bigger, Yeah, like I there's nothing wrong. Like, everyone has their ship. Like, I hate the Redeemer with a fiery passion. I know people love that ship. I will defend the Cutlass Steel to the day I die. I understand it's an ugly ship that has no purpose, but I love it because it's an ugly ship that has no purpose. It is the most Drake ship of all Drake ships. It's just, let's ride to the hype train and turn it into an upgunned crazy monstrosity that no one would ever think about. That is very Drake. But at the same time, I understand why everyone hates it. But yeah, everyone has their own thing. And, but I unfortunately, I don't think the Nomad has enough mass appeal to get beyond even to the top 16. It would have to require some crazy stuff. So, all right. Soul Calson 73 asks, where do you think the Reclaimer will place, if at all, and how do you would you rework its interior to make it not only able to dock with stations, but more up to gold standards? Reggie, I'll start with you on this one.
The Reclaimer in general, to me, it needs a lot of work. It's a really interesting ship. I remember when the Fury came out recently, somebody apparently went and used the elevator, that buggy elevator in the back, and filled the entire back end with Furies. And all the comments in the Reddit were like, well, how are you going to get them out? And the answer we wrote is very carefully and very slowly. So I mean, it's a creative ship. When you have a ship that big, I've heard a friend of mine, Spectre. He uses it as like a capital trainer. He calls it, and I'm like, just use my 890,
Capital
man.
trainer.
Like,
Yeah.
but
It's like training weights. Like, the harder it is to lift, like get the Furies out, the more you'll be able to get the Furies out on a ship like the Idris, where you can get them out easy.
Yeah.
Right?
True. It's an interesting ship. But its main purpose, it's not fully realized yet. It is a very cool ship. I think the Reclaimer will have a bigger and bigger purpose over time. But right now, it's like, I think there's other ships that are more exciting right now.
Mm-hmm. Vertigo, what do you think? Do you think it's got a chance, and or how would you fix it?
No.
No chance.
The Reclaimer, no. It won that 1 year, but it hasn't done very well since. I mean, it could. I don't think it is, but it could because salvaging, right?
Mhm.
We got salvaging released recently, and the Reclaimer now has got a resurgence in popularity. Now that it actually has the ability to do what it's supposed to do, can actually salvage. But like I said, the first year it released, it actually did something, but I don't feel it.
Okay.
It needs more claw.
The claw needs. Once the claw comes in, the year the claw comes in and it has actual munching capabilities, it'll win. Hands down, it'll win. Just because it's the Nostromo. If they fix some of the interior problems and some of the docking issues, like you fix a tiny bit and you give it its full functionality, it will sweep. It'll probably win the whole year that year because it's just cool. Like people love that stuff. Or at least it'll go. They'll put it head to head with the Carrack, and it'll have it'll give the Carrack a run for its money. But that's right now it's just in a weird position. So I don't think it's ever going to win. How would I fix it? There's a lot of things that could work right now. Like there's 2 side airlocks on the back. You just turn those into docking. You just turn them into docking ports, and you're good because they're not actually docking ports right now. They're just doors. If you just turn those into docking port areas, you're good. You're done. And then the back, the elevator needs to get fixed. That just needs to work. It's the problem right now. Mostly it's okay. It's a little confusing on the interior, and you could rework it a little bit here and there, but it's fine. I can't imagine that the claw would even do, and the marketing of it's especially weird. Wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being an articulated muncher like the vulture forks. I imagine it's going to be able to pick up larger chunks of ships. So like right now,
we're talking like maybe like Idris-sized chunk.
Yeah, like a Connie hole. It could take a disabled Connie and just chunk it immediately, because it's just that big. Like possibly even like a 600i, chunk an entire 600i without having to blow it up, which makes it a little bit better suited for the job because it can take larger ships in one go rather than having to break them up into smaller pieces to be able to then mulch them. So, all right. I'll ask you this question there, Vertigo. Other than the Redeemer, looking at you, Paul, what ship would you say is the ugliest Star Citizen concept or in game?
Oh boy. Besides the Nomad. I mean, Nomad gets kind of my vote there, but I'm trying to think of a ship that Liberator, I guess, concept. It's basically just a flying landing pad. It's a slab.
Okay.
Nomad for me. I'm trying to think if there's any like alien ships that I really hate the look of. Basically, Nomad, Liberator, are just some of the Anvil ships too. Like the Liberator. What's the one where it's the hacking ship? That's the Anvil ship.
The Legionnaire.
Legionnaire. I was thinking really hard. That one's kind of hideous to me, at least the ass end of it. I know the Scythe and the Glaive haven't aged well over time. Like there's so many prettier ships. When you put the Scythe and the Glaive next to like some of the better looking ships in Star Citizen, they really do look their age.
Yeah, well, they're also entirely been replaced. We don't see them yet.
We would like to have those new models in the game CIG if you'd be so kind.
I don't think they'll make them for players to use yet. I think they have to overhaul the UI. So like, but that is not the priority because it's mostly for squadrons. So, what do you think, Red J? What's the ugliest ships? What are some of the ugliest ships in Star Citizen?
There's some ships that have that too much rule of cool to me, and that frustrates me. Like it has like this incredible look, and it's just it's not really where I would like it to be. But
Like
off
what?
the top of my head, I would say as I'm frantically scrolling through through the CCU list, trying to see the pictures.
Like the
Uh,
old, to me, like the old 300i, like didn't look
the
like
old
anything.
one, yeah, the old one was
Yeah, I like
terrible.
the new one. The new one looks so much better.
And like there's some like the Hornet military upgrade should be really the regular Hornet. When you see the pictures, at least of that, it looks more Hornety.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some that annoy me. The Vulcan, for example, the few pictures that we have of it, I don't like it.
It's just a box, the Vulcan, with like it's basically
Yeah.
just the if I remember correctly, the Vulcan is basically just like the it looks like the Valkyrie,
Yeah.
but smaller.
Yeah,
It's got the 4 engines on the side of it. It's kind of like the boxy kind of Valkyrie look.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
and the Prowler. I'm not too fond of the Prowler's looks. I know it's very distinctive. I know the Tavaran are very distinctive, the bird-like thing and everything. I get it, but I'm not very fond of that style.
When are we, the human race, going to get a ship that's like shaped like a giant ape?
Well, the
Like
giant
the birds
apes don't. Giant apes don't fly. Birds fly. It makes sense.
Yeah,
that
but
something would look like a bird.
So why would an avian race design a spaceship that looks like a bird? Wouldn't they just
Because
make
it can
spaceships?
fly. They actually can't fly. The Tavaran. They're flightless
They
birds.
can?
No,
They're
can't.
flightless. They're like
Yeah.
penguins.
Yeah, but their main predator on their homeworld was a flying creature. So I think it's more of their building their ships to look like the top predators on their homeworld, because I don't think they were the top on their homeworld either. That's why they do collectivist society, because it's all about like sticking together and fighting off the stuff. So you think of it as kind of like if we built our like vehicles or ships to look like tigers or lions or bears
or sharks. Honestly, Paul, that's like the coolest thing ever. CIG, take notes from this guy. We got some good ideas for some
build me a
ships.
tank bear, a bear tank, and we need a bear tank. A shark.
I mean, we need to like
ship.
we need to have like some sort of American corporation. You know, the right to bear arms. We have a bear tank.
The bear tank.
A bear tank in the game.
Let's see. What's the next question? Oh, I haven't told you mine. Everyone knows I hate the Redeemer, but like, and I think it looks ugly. But
well, you have one though.
I against my will. Okay, I have non-consented to the Redeemer, and the Redeemer was just given to me. The only ship that I think that is really ugly, and this is not the exterior, it's the interior, that I think is an abomination, is the Beta. The Mustang Beta. It used to look so cool. It looked like a swanky, like really tiny studio apartment. Like it looked like a nice RV, or like a mid-ranged RV. Now it looks like a prison pod. It looks like it's like
so industrial inside of it. It had much more of a homely feel to it, a homey feel in the original Mustang Beta before the rework, and it comes out and it feels like it's a metal crate.
Yeah. It's just they murdered my boy. Look what they did to my.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Exactly. It looks so much better when it used to be. It used to be so much better, and it's like, oh, what did you do? Why did you do this? Please.
And it's some of the only design style we know for the Pioneer, so hopefully they don't follow suit.
Oh God.
I figured they could have slapped some wood in there to help with visuals a little bit, but no, it's nothing but like stainless steel.
Give me plastics, at least some plastics. You know. It looks like steel. Like I said, it looks like a prison pod.
I
think it also, as Macton is saying, like, where are the components? Like, it may also have to get kind of.
I think I'm not quite sure on the original, the Mustang Alpha. Like, you have that space behind the seat. They may put components back there, but yeah, you're right. Where are the components supposed to go on they'll find a place.
Yeah,
they'll find something.
They needed to dial down the 70s porno vibes. That was the reason why it was so good. It's the Bang Stang, all right? It was the muscle car that you drove around, but it actually had it's like a shaggin' wagon.
You drive around and you pick up chicks and they call the police because you're driving a Mustang Beta.
You had a Netflix and chill couch. You know, you had a little couch with a little screen
couch
on it.
for one that you could fit 2 people on if you
exactly.
if you really love each other.
It's so freaking awesome. It was.
Do you know?
Go ahead.
I had a theory about, by the way, 1 or 2 and stuff. So on the Phoenix, there is a massive hot tub, and a lot of people are very adamant about keeping hot tub, etc. It was in the promise. So I had a theory about this. It needs a restroom in the executive part. If they had, say, like a whirlpool style pair of jets, like the small fancy bathtub that can seat two
So
people,
you can stick
that
your
would be
your
hot
your
tub.
urinary tract up to the jets, and you reverse the flow through the jets, reverse the polarity of the jets, and it's
We're not getting into
urine.
we're not getting
know
into
about
poo
all that.
conversation. We're not getting into poo conversation. See Vertigo. All right, let Jay finish.
Red Jay, you
So,
have no idea
my
how
theory.
just absolutely awful this conversation is going to go with me. Like,
So my theory is, anyway, get rid of the hot tub and make it like a 2-person style fancy tub with jets.
Oh, yes, I
in
know
an
what you're talking
executive restroom there.
Yeah.
And then take the extra space you have and have the badly needed docking area right next to it. All that space would be where the current hot tub is. So anyway, the whole reason I brought that up was because you could take that little double bathtub and put it in the back of the Mustang Beta, and there
we
you go.
Perfect. You just have some throw rugs you can put in there, so you can put like some pillows, and you can just pull the pillows out when you want to have some alone time with some champagne, because you don't drink a champagne.
There you go.
You don't drink champagne in the Beta. You should drink champagne in the like the champagne of beers. All right. Next question comes from Noble Reflex. I think I got that right. I think I got it. Noble Reflex. I was going to say Knob1E Reflex, but Noble Reflex, who asks, what do you think they'll do with the Retaliator for Gold Standard? Also, Corsair Supremacy. Red J, what do you think we're going to see with the Retaliator Gold Standard?
The Tally in general is one of my most loved ships, but I actually gave away all of my modules for it. The drop ship one, the cargo, the VIP room, or it's like a hab room style thing, because I had friends who just like the Tally more. It's a certain kind of play style, especially with how torps are getting more and more expensive, and I suspect it'll continue to go up. Size 9 torps are no joke. It's a cool ship. It's a walloper sucker punch ship. I will say that over time, I will be very interested to see if it has some type of way to trick PDSs or evade PDSs or detect they're activated. That will really determine, like, to me, a gold standard, that's where a lot of the magic is. That HUD giving you warnings PDSs are warmed up, what side of the ship they're on, if they're still active or they ran out of ammo, stuff like that. Like a combat HUD for the Tally would be critical. And of course, it's modules.
Yeah. What do you think, Virgo? What do you think the Gold Standard Retaliator is going to be?
Obviously docking, like they kind of showed us off a little bit about what the gold standard's going to be. Like they're going to put a docking port. They're moving the docking ports from like top and bottom to the side, so you're only going to have access to one elevator. The other elevator is going to have the docking area on it. They're probably going to like fix up the crew area a little bit, because it's just the Tally. I don't know if they're going to like redo the exterior, because the interior of the Tally is just kind of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got the bathroom on one side of it, right next to the captain, right behind the captain's quarter, but the two don't connect to each other, so you can't go from the captain. If you want to use the bathroom, you have to walk all the way around the torpedo bay to get to the bathroom as the captain, and then you just have like a bunch of beds above the torpedo bay, just a ridiculous number of beds up there for the entire crew, and the whole thing. You have a pilot, you have an engineer station, and you have like 6 turrets on the thing. And it's a ridiculous number of turrets.
I'd be okay with the ridiculous number of turrets, but I think what they need is something like the Reclaimer does, where you have like
remote turret stations.
Yeah, where you have like three or four remote turrets that can cover like multiple turret firing arcs. So
that's what I would like to see, like maybe some like remote turret stations, so you can kind of clean up some of the turrets on there. There's a lot of man turrets in that thing. But I do like the idea of like the pilot only having access to the torpedoes. Like, your job is not to dogfight. Your job is to deploy ordnance. And then once you're out of ordnance, or if you're trying to defend yourself, your job is to like line up hits for your turret, for your gunners on whatever's attacking you. But I would like to see, I'd definitely like to see maybe some of the turrets get replaced with remote turrets, so we can have a little more space in there. But The nice thing about the tally is the fact that it's taken this long to actually do anything about it. Is they can learn from all the progress they've made over the years and to kind of clean up the interior a little bit. I wouldn't expect too much on the tally. I don't think CIG, because the problem with a tally is it suffers from success. It works.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
It just works.
It works right now. Why change a whole bunch of stuff on the tally to be better, according to the community, when the tally just works? You can just kind of slap it together and just ship it. And like, okay, done. Let's move on to a new ship, and actually sell that new ship and make money off that new ship.
Can I just add that one of the magics of the modularity with the tally is until we have ship scanners that are very effective in whatever range they are, you will be able to run around and no one knows if you're packing half a rack of size 9s or 4 or 2. Yeah. And you can sneak around cargo, you could carry troops on the drop ship, and people really don't know what's going on with you. There's some magic there. Just a tally locking onto you wakes you up.
Yes. Hello. I am awake now. I need to run. That's all I need to know. I think the gold standard, we're not going to see the gold standard until the modularity comes in. I think because it is the basis for modularity, I think they'll get it really good and polished for Squadron. And once they get everything ready for Squadron, for all of the purposes for Squadron, then they'll work on it for modularity, which they kind of hinted at that they started doing in terms of getting modularity ready, because it's the basis for modularity. And once they have modularity out, it'll be the first ship that gets released, kind of gets its gold standard glow up for that. But I also agree, Corsair Supremacy. That would be the only ship that I think would win that I'd actually vote for, because I have one, and I think the Corsair is an awesome ship. It's the poor man's Constellation. It's another one of those ships that's ugly as sin, but it's perfect. It's exactly what it is. No frills. Your DJ AJ asks, what ships do you think will make it to the top 4 for the year that Pyro releases? I'll start with this by saying I couldn't tell you, because I don't know what ships CIG will release that year. Because it's almost always a new ship that will be up, at least one. Like the Scorpius last year was a new ship, and the MSR the year it won in 2021, or not one, but its second, it was a new ship. And I think the same with almost all of the ships are that, like, at least one of the ships are a new ship that gets released. So it's hard to tell. Reggie, what do you think? And I'll be right back.
Liberator. Liberator. We know the Liberator is coming
Liberator,
out.
Please no.
Well, we know the Liberator is supposed to be the ferry that takes you to Pyro. It's not the only option, but it was told by CIG's devs directly that we are putting the Liberator in because we noticed that, like, even small orgs are going to need to be able to get over there, and it's going to be the only ship that's going to be of that scale and that capability. Of course, the Herculeses are going to be great. I'm not downing on Crusader at all.
Yeah.
But the Liberator is just going to be like the meta, the gold standard for a while. And I'm not saying it's going to win, no question. Another one that I think would be strong for the 4 count, if we're going to the semis, because I think it was the question, Starfarer. I think a lot of people will have fond memories of being saved when they ran out of fuel over in Pyro, and a Starfarer came and saved them, or their buddies are always there. So like it'll be like, maybe not completely, but the year of the the best chance utility and heavy fighters have ships that have good distance on them. Maybe one of the Vanguards, Starfarer, because people have fond memories of them saving them and refueling them. And yeah, the Liberator will take the cake. And if I'm going to round it out, because you asked for 4, I don't know. I'm
the new ship,
honestly,
whatever new ship that is,
whatever new ship, or if the Crucible,
whatever
released,
new ship CIG puts out.
But the Liberator for sure, because they said it's going to be there for Pyro. It's built as the ferry to Pyro. It's going to be the meta for a lot of small orgs.
What do you think, Vertigo?
Oh my God. Pyro releases Ship Showdown. Shoots. And I don't know. Probably Carrick's going to win again, because Carrick's a long-range exploration, and it's a Carrick. Starfarer probably make it to the final 4, because refueling would be more. I don't know if Liberator will come out that year. Definitely the Spirit. I think the Spirit will probably make it, because it's the Spirit. People like the Spirit. Mercury Star Runner may make it because it's a long range kind of ship. I don't think the Liberator will be on there. I think people will try to get the Liberator up there, but I don't think it'll win. But it'll definitely be like nominated.
I'll think about the full four. I think the Freelancer will be up there, but it will only depend on if the Freelancer actually gets a rework by then. If the Freelancer gets an actual rework by then, I do believe it will be in there. Whatever year that the Freelancer gets a rework, it'll end up in the top four. Because I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of people have a Freelancer and don't see a lot of value in it until Pyro comes out, because Pyro is 3 times the size of Stanton. So a lot of people who fly Cutlasses now will swap over to Freelancers when they have to do work in Pyro, because it gives you a lot of the same functionality as the Cutlass, but gives you an entirely huge difference in terms of range. You just get so much more range with the Freelancer than you do, even the base Freelancer, than you do with the Cutlass Black. Plus, it has its own, exploration variant. It has a combat variant. So there's a lot of things that people will gravitate towards the Freelancer with that. So, but I agree. I think the Liberator, if the Liberator is out with Pyro, I think it'll be, because we could also have a situation where Pyro releases like after Ship Showdown. So if it releases after Ship Showdown, it would be the year after Pyro releases, and that could also be like Nyx could be in that mix up at that point. So, yeah. All right. Next question, and I'll start with you on this one, Vertigo. Will the number of big ships like the Hull C and Merchantman be limited per server to not affect the economy?
Oh, I mean, if CIG does server meshing a certain way and they have like a special matchmaking that allows them to dynamically shard people into different instances, no. And here's why. Because Chris Roberts wants a single universe where everybody affects everyone else. The economy's linked across. I think he wants the economy to be linked across everybody, right? At the end of the day, when dynamic server meshing is finally implemented, you'd actually be able to see the impact of like a Banu Merchantman landing somewhere and buying up a bunch of stock. I don't think Chris Roberts wants to limit players like per server. Like maybe when the Banu Merchantman gets released initially before server meshing, yeah, maybe we'll have a limit of like. But how would you implement that limit? Would you like, if you own a Banu Merchantman, do you get your own server if no other Banu Merchantman? That'd be kind of difficult for CIG to do that. You spawn a Banu Merchantman, does it just shove you into a new instance?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I don't see them changing that up, because the thing you got to understand.
CIG hates work.
Well, you also got to remember that the whole purpose of the economy, which doesn't exist yet, that's one of the things that I hate when people go, but the economy will be unbalanced. It's like, what economy? There is no economy. You can't being able to buy every ship in the game doesn't break the economy. That's just how that works right now. We don't have reputation fully implemented. We don't have the quantum system fully activated. None of those things, all those things matter, are the really things that matter with the economy. So when it comes to like affecting the economy, I think when you have the Hull C and the Merchantman out, CIG can always tweak the back end where they can make the NPCs outbid you for contracts, or crash the market. So they can always screw with you if they think that if there's too many people doing
just increase the number of pirate interdictions on Banu Merchantmans,
or reduce them. So.
Or reduce it, yeah. Like there are levers and dials that CIG can do to specifically screw over individual players if they really want to,
or entire specific like markets and stuff like that. So
yeah, they've kind of already done that against large cargo ship owners. You used to be able to fill up an entire cargo ship full of like medical supplies, laranite, agricium, the really high end trade goods, back in when 3.0 released, and people were just making millions of credits hand over fist on just simple cargo runs. Nowadays, you're lucky if you could fill up a Freelancer with any of those trade goods. I mean, barrel's really hot right now, but gold right now is like really limited outside. Like the high value trade good right now is gold. You're lucky if you can fill up a Freelancer in a few minutes with gold. You're actually lucky if you don't get pirated buying and selling gold, but that's a completely different discussion. But there's things that CIG can do to manipulate the market to like screw over Banu Merchantman owners if they wanted to.
Red Jade, do you think that the number of ships with like the Hull C and merchantmen will limited per server because of the economy?
No, and I agree with you, Paul, that the economy's really not out yet, where we're yet to see the full picture. I do agree that the NPCs and CIG kind of working those NPCs through the Quanta system is going to kind of make or break people. I will say that orgs working together, especially multiple orgs, especially when we have outposts, so this is really going down the line, but I could see them kind of having regional trading stock where they have well defended, escorted convoys that pull up to a moon and offload the efforts of like hundreds of players into a convoy. And suddenly ships that are even bigger than the hull, even the hull D or E, dare I say it, can be escorted into place. But that is fine because once again, it's a lot of players enjoying that economy work. I don't even think they would crash the economy. I think the scale is going to be so large outside of players, it'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. I'll start with you on this one, Red J. Why do you think CIG has been pumping out so many small ships vehicles this year? The Fury, the Lynx, the Storm, the Lynx of a potential color variance, and the CIG picture of another Fury variant. None of these ships are particularly large. Do you think it's the work being done? Do you think it's the work being done on other ships or work being done on bigger projects like server meshing, the quantum economy, etc.?
There's two different things going on, at least that CIG has said. CIG said that they have a lot of new ship designers, concept artists, literally people making the ships and assembling them for every step of the way that are new, and they're trying to get them to kind of sink their teeth onto a shorter project. I think we hit on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But long story made short, that's one half of it. And then there's another half where some of these are like a way to kind of get what the new style guide is going to be, like a more up-to-date style guide for some companies that ship manufacturers in the game, in the lore, that have not really been changed recently. So it is their way of kind of modernizing a small ship, and then they can kind of apply that to the larger, old, out-of-date style guide and say, okay, these pieces work, these pieces don't, when we start scaling up. All right, now we can green light. Let's start working on a medium or large ship or even a quasi or cap ship. So that's kind of my two perspectives. I don't think that's the full story. I don't know what the meta story there is or anything, but those two are what they say.
HCVertigo, what do you think? Why do you think CIG has been focusing on so many small ships and vehicles this year?
Because they're easier to produce and easier to get out than the bigger ships, like the Band of Merchantmen. Just bang them out. Large capital ships take over a year to make, like a Fury. They were able to get that done in a couple months. There you go. It's that easy.
Yeah. I think a combination of both. I think one, CIG wants to have ships out because they sell ships, they make money. Making money helps them keep open. But also, they've got new employees they need to train, and it's a lot easier to train a new employee on a Fury than it is on the Band of Merchantmen. Yeah, and there's a lot of the bigger ships they'd want to do. Like let's just say let's take the Polaris. It just entered White Box recently. The Polaris is probably the only big ship that you could potentially have gameplay right now for it if it was released, but it would be for the pilot. And that wouldn't be the gameplay that they'd want. They wouldn't want just the pilot being able to function and maybe the gunners. They'd want to have other stuff. So until those other things are out, like engineering gameplay, you probably wouldn't have a lot of point in releasing a bigger ship like that. So the bigger ships without gameplay loops don't make a lot of sense to develop, and until those loops are in. And the ships that do have potential are all ships that are like the Ranger, the X1, ships that they've already sold and made money off of. Would be difficult to make a ton of money off of it on top of it, and also aren't as interesting for new players or new designers to work on, so they get a chance to do this. We kind of talked about this a little bit as well, but yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of different factors that come into place, but I don't think it's having to do with bigger projects or like server meshing or the quantum economy. I think it just has to do with the resources they have available, the people they have to work on them, and the time they have. So all those kind of match up together. All right, the last question we have is from Rulin the Dwarf, who asks, random question, will energy production be a gameplay loop at some point? Like transporting batteries, generators, or building power plants and photovoltaic systems?
Mm-hmm.
I'll start by saying yes and no. Your current systems, that current system that works with your generator, your power generator, you're going to need to have resources to start up your power generator. So your ship's power plant will have a startup sequence, which will require some resources to do it, either fuel or power from batteries. There'll be some sort of system that will require you to boot it up. And as a result, there will always be a cost to turning on your power. And so in the sense that there will be energy production gameplay loop, in the sense that you'll have to have resources to generate that power, and you probably have to build like power plants or something like that to run outposts. But I don't know if and it'll probably be, if CIG can invent a reason for it to be transported, they'll transport it. Like, they have waste in game that they transport through space. So I guarantee you there'll be batteries or power plants or generators. But what do you think, Vertigo?
Like building stuff with the Pioneer?
Yeah. Or just in general, like trading power, or like generating power in some way, shape, or form to sell.
I don't know. I don't know if CIG wants to go that like down to the detail. It'll probably be like shipping like parts of power plants around and fuel, I would imagine. Eventually we'll get base building, right? So you'll have to have something like you'll build a power plant. You'll build a power plant next to your base and you'll have to like fuel it with stuff. I don't think we're going to be like operating utilities in space. From the sounds of it, from the description you gave me, I don't think we're going to be utility operators selling power to our neighbors, that kind of stuff.
Red J, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see energy production gameplay loop?
I'll start with the outpost in general. Excite me. I'm a Pioneer owner. I love the dang ship. It's something when I saw Silas Kroner come up on that stage and do his little trailer for the Pioneer, very much excited me. But I don't think that there's going to be like this incredible power trading economy. At most, I could see maybe if you're with your org mates and your friends and you all build right next to each other, you could tandem run, like a single person has the largest power plant and then you supply it to your next door neighbors. But that's a big maybe. Honestly, if you're really interested in that type of gameplay, I know it's not exactly what you're looking for, but I would look hard at what's coming up with data running, where it's almost like you're filling up the equivalent of a battery, so to speak, but instead it's a server. Or I would look really hard at some of the gameplay that's coming up around I'd stick with the servers, honestly. That would probably be the cleanest way. Think of the servers as big batteries that you have to transfer and keep safe, and they are fragile, just like your batteries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's out of the loop, but I don't think CIG wants to. CIG already has so many gameplay loops they have to fulfill in. They're not looking for new gameplay loops to create. If it does, it'll be by accident. It'll be done because like it just so happened that it fills in with another role that they want to do. Like but like I said, the whole idea of using fuel to start up your generator, that's just a fuel loop. That's not like energy production. That's just you need fuel, and so that ties into like refueling. Or that sort of thing. All right. Well, thank you so much to Red J and HCVertigo. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us and answering some questions and talking. If you enjoyed this, make sure you're checking out HCVertigo at twitch.tv/HCVertigo, youtube.com/c/HCVertigo, and of course, Red J at youtube.com/c/RedJ. And then, of course, there are other social medias. Check them out. And if you enjoyed this, please hit that follow button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit the like button on YouTube as well, and comment down below your thoughts on these sorts of things. And of course, if you're listening to us on the podcast format, make sure you leave a rating and a little comment down below as well. Helps out with the kind of discovery of everything. And I will see you all next week for another Captain's Table. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. Waiting for the YouTube to kind of for those. 41 is streaming. I don't think we've rated 41 before. He's a fantastic content creator.
Sure.